Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jan, engineer turned integrative nutritionist. And if you are new here, this is a place where we talk about health and wellness and nutrition in ways that are practical, science-backed, and even spiritually relevant. And if that's something that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you make sure you don't miss any of the videos that are coming up. Last time that we were together, we talked about or established that great health starts with the cell, right? And that's because a healthy cell makes healthy tissues, organ systems, and eventually a healthy, thriving you. But what happens when toxins, whether they're toxins that you are aware of or toxins that completely take you by surprise, that you're exposed to but you don't know? What happens when they wreak havoc on your cells? I'm excited to tell you that today we're going to start a series called What's Killing Your Cells? Toxic Threats and How to Fix Them. Because I want you to know what they are and I want you to know why they are a problem. And then I'm going to tell you how you can do something about it too. Okay? So let's just dive right in. First one is a big one. It's a big deal, and it is medications. Now, I have to start off with a startling statistic because why not? Here it is. Did you know that according to NIH, the third leading cause of death in the United States is prescription medication? The third leading cause of death in the United States is prescription medication. 50% are those people who are taking it according to the way it was prescribed. The other 50% are people who basically expired because of an error. Either they were given too much medication or there was a contraindication with another medicine they were already on that was ignored or unknown. But that should be a sobering thought, okay? It really should be. And here's the deal, we're talking about these are normal meds, statins, pain pills, antibiotics, personal personal proton pump inhibitors. That's acid reflux medications, right? Those are standard. People are taking those things every single day. And that is, I just need you to think about that. In fact, here's the truth. 70% of Americans are taking at least one medicine a day. 70%, 7 out of 10 people. 15% are taking multiple pills, prescription pills a day. And that's at least 4 medications. I'm not talking about supplements. I'm talking about bona fide drugs, medicine, legal drugs, okay? Medicines prescribed to you for a condition. 15%. And I'm telling you, because this is so regular, especially that 70%, just do this for me. Comment, I know someone in the 70%, if that's you or if there's somebody you know. Just go ahead and comment that for me. And here's the deal. All of these medicines, all the ones I listed and plenty more that are not on this list right here, they stress out your mitochondria. And remember, mitochondria is the power plant of the cell. It's where you make your energy. It's where so much stuff goes on that keeps you thriving. And I'm telling you that if you're taking these every day, you're taking something that's stressing out your mitochondria. So let's get at it. Let's talk about statins. Now, statins are used to lower cholesterol, and they do that pretty well. But they also deplete your CoQ10 levels. And coenzyme Q10 levels, we talked about last time that they are vital for energy production. And I want to give you this visual because I'm a visual learner and that's how I remember things. There's somebody out there who may be learning like me. So I want you to picture, either in your mind or just look on the screen, a moving truck and a garage. The garage has all these boxes that need to be moved to the moving truck, right? As you can see in this picture, you have at least 3 workers who are busy doing some semblance of that, getting the boxes out of the garage into the back of the truck, necessary for the boxes to get gone. And essentially, if you have no workers, those boxes are not going to move themselves. They just will be sitting there. Here's how that relates to us and our cells and our CoQ10. Coenzyme Q10 is like those workers. in the electron transport chain, which is inside the mitochondria. The job of CoQ10 is to take electrons from one complex, make sure it gets passed on to the next complex. That's what it does. And it needs to do that because those electrons need to get to the end of the process, in my example, into the truck, because that is going to create the energy. No CoQ10, no energy. You feel me? You see what I'm saying? So when you're taking something on a regular basis that's depleting your CoQ10, it's not wiping it completely out. So you're going to be able to make some energy, but the point is the amount that you can make is going to be significantly hampered. Okay. And that's pretty tight. And here's a bigger deal. This is why it's a bigger deal, I should say, because you have organs like your liver, your heart, your kidneys, even your skeletal muscle tissue, and your brain. All of these, every single one of them, require a whole bunch of energy in order to function. So guess what that means? The cells that comprise each of them have thousands of mitochondria, thousands in their cells. So when I tell you that statins deplete like 40% of CoQ10, that's documented. 40%. All of these organs suffer in one way or another. Do they all suffer at the same time? Not necessarily. Does everybody feel the suffering? Not necessarily. That is why it is so important that you understand we're all biochemical individuals. And one thing that affects one person negatively doesn't necessarily affect the second person negatively. That's why you need to work with somebody who knows how to test what's different for you. What's good for you may not be good for somebody else. But here's the deal. If any of these organs or your muscle tissue is feeling the burn from the loss of CoQ10, this is what happens. This is what you feel like. You're tired all the time. You have that fatigue we talked about a lot last week. And you have muscle pain. Think about, and I can even think of a client who was on a statin briefly. I'm going to tell you about a different client, but this one was on a statin briefly. And I mean, it was almost immediate, the pain that they started experiencing. And so basically, they talked to their physician and they basically tried something different. You also could suffer from brain fog, or even worse. Those are That's just not something to play with. And in fact, like I was saying, this makes me think of a former client. I want to call her Betty. Betty came to me because she found out she had stage 3 chronic kidney disease. And she was a diabetic. And Betty did not want to go on dialysis. And I didn't want Betty to go on dialysis. So, I do what I do. And I took her blood work that she had, meaning the results. I didn't actually take her blood, but I got the results, her lab results. From all the tests that she's been taking, I got a good health history from her, understood what she was eating. I did all this data, if you will. And I'm looking at everything. I made some suggestions and some changes. And then after like 30 to 60 days, we had to go back to the doctor and get her blood work redrawn. Probably it was in 90 days, but either way, probably 90 days, because 90 days is how long it takes your red blood cells to die off and get replaced. So she goes, she gets her blood work redrawn. We get back together. I look at her results again. And oh my gosh, so many of her markers had gotten better, even ones that I wasn't necessarily targeting. And we were so happy, but not her kidneys. The kidneys were actually getting worse. And I was freaking out. And so this is the part where I'm so grateful that I'm a Christian who happens to be an integrative nutritionist. And honey, I just prayed and I was like, God, what did I do? What did I miss? I'm missing something. I know it's just something I know and I just overlooked it somehow. What is it? And immediately I had the thought, recheck her medications. Guys, she was on at least 4 different medications, not from one doctor. It was 3 or 4 different doctors had prescribed medicine, but 3 of them, the side effect was kidney damage. 3. And so I was like, Eureka, this is it. Okay, this is what we need to do. So I worked with her doctor. We worked with her doctor to get her One of those was a statin. I didn't mention that. One of those was a strong statin. So we worked with our doctor to get that particular one swapped out for something that was a whole lot less toxic. We added another supplement, I made some other tweaks here and there, and then we just worked together. We prayed a lot. And then she went and got her blood work done after like another 60 days. And guys, guess what? Her kidneys functionality returned to normal. So I was just like, yes, I was so excited because that's the power, not only of prayer, but that's the power of understanding and recognizing what a toxin is, knowing what to do to help support the body get rid of it or solve the problem without having to use it in the first place. That's a whole nother conversation too. But I'm going to tell you, for you, if you want to know what's dragging your cells down, I'm going to leave a link for a free consultation in the description box. I'd be happy to help you the same way I help Betty. Okay, so let's move on now to the next class of drugs. We're going to call them antibiotics. Now, their job is to wipe out bad bacteria. And when you're suffering from a really bad sinus infection or perhaps a really bad tooth infection, you need that, right? But they also smash out the good bacteria. And that's a problem because killing the bad bacteria, the good bacteria, is killing the guys that kind of like the example I used with the moving truck. You're killing the substrate, the thing that's responsible for taking your food, converting it to energy, and feeding it into the mitochondria of the cells in your gut. When the antibiotic wipes out the good bacteria, there's nobody there to do the work. So you suffer in your gut, leaky gut. You can't, I mean, there are all kinds of problems that happen with what happens with the gut with a bacterial imbalance. And that's the downstream effect because the good bacteria, why I keep saying that? The good bacteria is not available to do the job it was created to do. So now you still have some, like even with the CoQ10, you still have some available. It didn't wipe out everything, but it wiped out your numbers significantly enough that it affects your ability to produce the energy that you need to have that area, in this case, your gut, function normally. So you see what I'm saying here? I mean, this was serious. So here's the deal when it comes to medications. It's not just what medication you're on, it's how much are you on? How long have you been on it? And what else are you taking with it? Because I can tell you for sure, I don't know a physician who's going to give you a pill or some prescription and they're not confident that this has been approved by the FDA and that it's safe for you to use. Okay, I don't know one that would never say that. Excuse me. But I also have never, in any physician I've ever been to, no physician has ever said to me, you know, those 5 pills that you're on, don't worry about taking them all together at the same time, because there are plenty of studies done to show that those taken together are just fine too. I haven't heard that. You know, so here's the deal. Make sure you are talking to your doctor. Let them know what your medications are on, what you're on. Now, and I realize a lot of physicians are just overloaded. They have way too many patients in the first place. And so it's hard for them. So even though I was appalled that Betty had received 3 medications and all 3 of them had as a like top listed side effect kidney disease, that none of them had thought to just give her something else, give her another option, look for something else. But it's probably the case that neither one of them were really paying attention. They weren't looking at the total depth of her file. So one doctor was not sitting down because they don't typically have the time to do that, to do some kind of investigation to make sure that however many other doctors she's seeing is not giving her something that's going to, conflict with what I'm giving her. That was the case with her. That's probably the case with you, whoever, or any other people who happen to have medication interaction. I believe that has to be true. If otherwise, we wouldn't have third leading cause of death being people who are taking medications as they are prescribed, and that some of those people were taking medications that had a contraindication with something else that they were taking. This is pretty serious, guys. But here's the deal. There's hope. There's hope. Just like I was able to help Betty, I'd love to be able to help you. You can get these things addressed. The beauty is in being able to recognize what you're dealing with and to be able to help you and work with your physician to help you get yourself back to healthy, functioning, strong cells. Now, today, hey, we just hit two. We just talked about statins and we talked about antibiotics. But I want you to stick around because next week we're going to talk about acid reflux medications. We're going to talk about painkillers. And I know a lot of people who are dealing with those too, right? So this is just part of it. This is something that I think it's important. It's really like an educational series. I hope that's something that appeals to you. And if it does, do like you know what I always say, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and even share this with somebody else in your circle, because you never know how much this information may be helpful to someone else. I just want to make sure that there's just so many opportunities we have to help one another. And I want to be able to do that. So I'm so grateful that you're here today and hope you enjoyed this time. And until next time, bye for now.